All right, so today we'll be talking about introduction to Web3 design. But before we jump into Web3 design, we first talk about the evolution of the web. So why Web3 was just one, two before three. So of course, why did we move from one to two? Why did we move from two to three? It's possible you might have known this. Possibly you might have known this. But just so we know where we are going to, by knowing where we are coming from, it will help us understand properly. So, evolution of the web. What is Web 3? Why are people talking about Web 3? What are the limitations to Web 3, if there's any? Role of design in this new Web 3 that everybody's talking about, and aspects of exploration. So, prior to Web 3, there was Web 2. Prior to Web 2, there was Web 1. Now, Web 1 was basically come and eat. That was Web 1. Just come and eat. Don't tell me how you cooked it. Don't tell me whether it's sweet or not. Just come, eat, and go. It's basically static pages, static content. So you go on the website and then you just go there, you digest information however it, however it is. You just keep digesting information and you don't you don't interact with anything. You don't get feedback. You don't give feedback. You just keep digesting. Now that was the problem in terms of experience. So Web 2 came about. Now Web 2 is where you can now interact with the platform. Now first of all, Web 1, if you come in there and digest the information, we don't know who you are because they've never asked for give me your account, give me your name, your phone number, all those things. It's just the intent was to share information. So I'm doing this. I'm doing probably a poultry business, and I just share my information basically. So it did not ask you to create account, sign up, all of that. So it was decentralized on its own. Web one was actually decentralized, but then it was static. Now Web two, users have to interact. Now, while users are interacting, there's a need to now tie whatever they're interacting to a particular person. Hence, the need of now asking for your details to register and all of that. So you could come, interact, you could explore, and you can actually feel the platform, right? So Web one is read only. Web two, read and write. Write in the sense that you can modify, you can remove, you can add. That they gave the privilege to you to add and remove as you feel. Yeah. Well, now the limitation of this Web two is in terms of security and monetization. Now your name, your email address they are putting out there, you don't know where it's going to, right? So there's already a problem there. Monetization in the sense that your data are sold to other people. That's the reason why when you are thinking of buying a shoe, yeah, and all of a sudden you come on Instagram and you're seeing ads from Jumia to tell you, okay, come and buy this shoe. It might look nice on you. Now you've given your information out, but you do not know when you did that. It's possible you accepted maybe cookies because you had to accept the cookies. That's fine. To digest the content, you have to accept cookies. That means you have your information, you sold it to whoever you want to sell it to, but without your consent, and you are not getting any money from that sale. So that there was there's limitation to Web two. Another one is in terms of privacy, right? So if we have bank accounts and then peradventure somebody somewhere says that you are wanted, now they can freeze your bank account without even consulting you. They have the right to close it down. Now there's no privacy there. You might post something on Twitter, probably speaking ill about a company 6 years ago, but 6 years later you've grown up, and then you now delete that post, maybe, or you forget to delete the post. Now anybody can use that against you, and that's a problem. Also, they track your information. That's why if you notice what Apple did recently, Then I give you the opportunity to decide whether this application will track you or not. So you can say track now, allow tracking, or track every time, right? So that's that. Then you now moved into, see if you had limitations and so now the control was centralized, meaning people sat somewhere and they can control the media. Then Web3 came into play. Web3 is just a combination of some aspect of Web1 and Web2. That's how Web3 came. What aspect do you take from Web1? Decentralization. Remember, in Web1, nobody cares about who you are. Just come digest this information and get educated. So Web3 took that. What part of Web2 did they take? Interaction and ownership. What part did you remove? Central ownership. In the sense that the ownership of a platform is now given to you, not people, not a group of people. So you own your data, you decide whatever you want to do with your data. So Web3 is a read, write, and own. So you come there, you digest content, you modify as you feel, and then you own your data. Whatever you do there, you decide if you want to do it or not. Please, am I sharing my screen?
No, I cannot see it though.
Oh, blocks. Sorry about that. You can see it now, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Sorry about that. So yeah, this was what we're talking about. Is our content evolution. What is Web3? Why we're talking about it? Existing limitations, role of design, and then aspect to explore. Right. Now this is the evolution of the web, and I highlighted that Web one is read only content, so you come there, digest, and go on your way. Web two is you come, you interact, and then you can actually feel the feel the platform. So it's from Web two. That's what we have currently. That was where we now started thinking about users, how they feel when they interact with your platform. Because now they are feeling influenced if they will come back or not. So we have to now start put all those into consideration. That's Web two. But the limitation of Web two now was sale of your data. For example, a company might build an app that solves problem, right? But because they need money to keep the platform running, to pay their staff, because they've taken money from venture capitals, so they have to tilt to the area of the stakeholders in the sense that if I invest in you, I expect a certain level of return in the next 6 months or 7 months, thereabout. Now, they did not start off by wanting to sell your data, but because they are solving the need, they have almost 6 million users registered on their platform. That means they have 6 million email address, 6 million names, 6 million phone numbers, and the way you interact with the platform, they know what you like, right? So if I see that you like this particular category all the time, that those data is stored somewhere, right? Now, because they can sell 6 million information to people, small businesses, so they can advertise their companies on their app, they go for it. Because for every advertisement, for every click you click on an ad, they get paid for it. And if 6 million people are clicking on an ad 2 times a day, that's 12 million times $1. You know how that is. Now, it's good stuff, but I don't know how they started, but it's what it is, right? Monetization. Privacy is saying that you can tweet on Twitter now, but because somebody doesn't like it, because somebody feels that it hurts them, their wife not giving them food at home, so they're angry. You can decide to delete your tweet, and you can do nothing about it, right? Your bank account, you might be going somewhere and somebody can tell you to close your account because you suspect fraudulent activities. It might be because you had a pay increase, but somebody somewhere can decide to close your bank account and you have nothing to do about it. You have to go to the bank and start causing trouble. Now they can track your movements, right? That's why Apple now did a new thing that before you track user data, you have to seek their consent. You have to click allow to track or don't allow to track. That's why when you're on Twitter or IG and previously you were thinking about buying a shoe, you see the ads from Jumia. It's not because you can read minds, it's because they have your data stored somewhere. They bought it from some people. Now they are using to tailor ads to you because your search query was sent to them. Now they link it with the what they have and they put it in your face. And if solution comes to meet you, tendency of you clicking it is higher than you keep on scrolling. That's how it works. So this limitation now brought about the birth of Web3. So Web3 took a part from Web1 and a part from Web2. Web1 is saying that Web3 doesn't care who you are, they don't want to know who you are. Decentralization, that's Web1, that's a feature from Web1. Just from Web2, interaction ownership. What they remove from Web2 is central ownership. So this time, nobody can tell you that they will close this account because you are suspected of XYZ. You can post whatever you like. Nobody can delete it or nobody can take it down. So no central power. So in Web3, you can read, write, and own. So you can read content, you can modify it by creating your own. You can own it. So you can say this is my own, and then nobody can say it's not yours. So these are the features that made Web3 stand out, decentralized, right? So instead of you having people controlling your account or controlling an account, you control it yourself, right? Or rather, it's now with multiple people. So in Web2, you have one server. So if that server goes down, your data is for that period of time you have problem because your only source is down in particular. But in Web3, there are multiple servers. So having the same content. So if I send A to server one, it sends it to server two, three, four, five, 10,000. Right? So if one goes down, you can still use two, three, just like that. Decentralization. Permissionless in the sense that you can do anything without anybody coming to ask you, don't do it, do something, don't do it. Permissionless. So no one gets excluded. Everybody participates. Having native payment in the sense that unlike Web2 where we use Naira and Kobo or US dollar or your normal fiat money that is controlled by one source, which is usually the banks, right, or financial infrastructures. But in this case, you the community decide how they control money. So instead of relying on outdated infrastructure, use cryptocurrency to spend and send money. So it's not they cannot wake up one morning and say they want to close that bank or say they want to reduce the value of money. But then it has to be collective effort of people who own the money again. Then trustless in the sense that if you are because you give people don't own your data. If you accept cookies, nothing comes to you. But in this case now, you see some platforms letting you know that do you want to sell your data? If you say yes, then you get paid a certain token for every company that uses that your data, and it's open, right? So that's why Web3 came into play. So why the fuss about Web3? I mean, is it a big deal? Ownership is there, so you own your thing, like it's yours for keeps. NFTs, you can decide to own it and nobody else own it with you. So if you want to sell it, you can sell it back and get the same value without dropping value because you place the value you so desire on the platform. Censorship resistance, as we highlighted before. So now that it's open to everyone, nobody can decide to delete your delete your post, or nobody can just decide to change the rules of how you manage, how you interact with something because they feel like. But this time it has to be collective effort. So you have a say. So unlike Web 2, where it's the company that decides the rules, regulations, who they send the money to, and how they split the bill. But in Web3 has DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations. It's more like a community, but this time it is not led by a single person, it's led by the community. Community in the sense that people that belong to that DAO, they are the ones that lead, that decide what happens. So they decide if they need to change the UI, they decide if they need an upgrade, they decide if the money that is going to the technical department is too small or too much. So you have a say in that decision. You don't just wake up one morning and you are told to download updates that you not asked for. So DAOs, they are community-led entities. So basically, it's governed by its members. Governed by its members. Like you now, if you are a token holder of a particular DAO, you decide you can cast your vote on certain decisions, on certain proposals, and it will actually count. Multiple IDs. So you can currently you have a different account for Twitter, you have a different account for Facebook, you have a different account for IG. Now, if you want to change probably your profile picture on one, now you can't change on one to reflect everywhere because they are not in one account. So your name, which is Annabelle Jacob, on IG now it might be Jacob Annabelle Anna. So you have multiple IDs. But with Web3, you can use one ID, one platform, and just link it to any other platform. Right? You can use one platform and link it anywhere. Decentralized anonymous straight payment in the sense that the money that you're going to, if you are performing transactions, it will not be because you are performing transaction and you need a third party. So right now, if I want to send money to you, I have to first seek the approval from the bank before I send it to you. Right? So there's no intermediary. But in Web3, I can just send my token or my currency right to you without the need of even using a third party. So it's peer to peer. You and I just transact like old times. So this is a picture example of how it is in Web 2 and how it is in Web 3 in terms of data storage. So as you can see in this case, this is a central server. You are accessing it from here. This same thing, same thing. Now, if this server goes down, I've lost access, same as every other person. But in the Web3 network, we have multiple servers. We are connected to multiple servers at the same time. So if this go down, I can easily pick from this one. My exact data is right here. So I can easily pick it and then do what I want to do with it. So I'm not stuck in any way. This is just with respect to your data. Now, foundation of Web3. As everything, you must have foundation. Basically, what are things that you need to understand to actually dive into to know terminologies of Web3? First is the blockchain. So blockchain is basically a ledger tender. It's a digital distributed decentralized public ledger that exists across a network, facilitates and facilitate the recording of transactions. So it's not a book or a tender that is in somebody's laptop. It's not just in Central Bank of Nigeria. It's not just in First Bank. It's not just somewhere, right? It's public, so you can actually have access to this data, to this ledger, and cross-check information without seeking approval or permission from anybody. So smart contracts. So these are codes stored on the blockchain that execute when conditions are met. So right now, for Web2, what we use as our escrow system. So if a buyer pays, we have to first go and then before the company then releases the money to the seller. But smart contracts, you don't need that company. So it's like you preset conditions. So the moment those conditions are met, it triggers an action which just performs what was set to be. So these are smart contracts. The digital assets and tokens, they represent verifiable and ownable digital items. So like these are what then give you access to DAOs. If you hold a particular token, you then have access to that particular DAO, meaning you can then, like you're a shareholder of particular community, right? So you hold multiple tokens, meaning you have multiple percentage of shares in different companies. So it's just like so you can perform or you can give your own 2 cents anywhere. By 2 cents, I mean your own opinion on any of those communities because you have these digital assets, meaning you are verified that you are part of us, even though you do not know us, right? Because you are holding this thing. These are the three foundation of the Web3 technology generally: blockchain, smart contracts, and tokens. Blockchain is the thing that is the ledger, more or less, where you cross-check that what they're doing is how it should be. Right? It's like the foundation. Smart contracts are basically codes that are written to execute a particular command when particular um, condition is met, right? And then who set this condition is the community. By community, I mean the DAOs, which you are a holder of the digital asset or the tokens, right? So you set the the conditions, which are the codes which are under the blockchain technology. So it's like you're in full control of how you want your things to run, right? Now, this is a picture example of what happens normally in a Web2 deposit and loan, right? So now if I want to borrow from if I want to borrow from someone, so I'm a borrower, the depositor, right? So what happens is you put into a private ledger. Now you don't see this. You just put the money inside, right? Now, this company, I mean, this management and shareholders, remember I told you that management are people that build the platform, right? Shareholders are those that have shares of it, probably by venture capitals or by buying a certain amount of shares in it. So they are the governance. So they decide what this proprietary credit and risk model, they decide how it is. So it might not be in the favor of any of the two, it might be in their favor, but they decide it, right? Now for borrowing, you just collect what this person has deposited, right? And then the interest doesn't go to this person. The interest now comes to the management. So they then decide what goes to the person, right? So it's like depositor is at loss, and the borrower, the money you're paying back is not for depositor. You're actually paying people that just sit down somewhere and because they've made a system, it runs on its own. But in a Web3 system, right? So you put in your money into a public ledger, so anybody can see how much it is, but they don't know who the person is because you are anonymous. But they can know how much it is, right? Now, instead of shareholders, it's now token holders. Now, token holders are those that have a particular digital asset for a particular company, right? Which is these DAOs. So they then decide, since you're a token holder, you then decide what this is done. I remember you decide it before you start. So the scripts that the codes which are the smart contracts, they are already done. I mean they're already public. So you cannot go there and say you want to modify it on your own. I mean over here I can a shareholder can come and say no, increase it by 5%, increase interest rate by 5%. Because the shareholder holds a large stake, the management has no choice but to increase it, right? But in this case, a token holder cannot just come and say, let's change this code and say, okay, until this one reach 50%, don't do this. Because he's just a token holder. Now everybody also is token holder. Now everybody has to vote on that proposal. So what a token holder can do is propose the increase of this due to XYZ. Everybody now have to vote yes, no, yes, no. This is me iterating the fact that you have control over, you have a say in how the platform is run. Now, whatever interest that is paid, right, is into because it's into the blockchain ledger, which is then given to the depositor. So as token holders, you really do not get much in terms of this borrowing because it's peer to peer. You how much do you have? I need 2,000. Okay, if I give you 2,000, you give me 2,500 back. Oh yeah, they do it. But then it is public, so everybody's seeing it. So that's basically for Web3 and the Web2 in terms of deposit and loans. Now, as any new technology, right, there must be limitations. So remember, if we do not have limitation for Web 1, there won't be Web 2. If we don't have limitation for Web 2, there won't be Web 3. So right now, these are the limitations as at this point of Web 3, right? So the first one is accessibility. It says that there are some people in some places that cannot have access to this Web3 platform because they are not integrated into popular Web2 browsers or popular Web2 platforms. Also, in terms of trust, they don't know if Web3 will scale. So it's a problem for now. It can be solved with time, but right now, accessibility to Web3 infrastructures is a problem. The second one is the user experience of this platform so far. Now, if you go back to Web 1 had major user experience because you cannot interact with it. So Web 2, because Web 1 had too many problems, then Web 2 came into play. So right now for Web 3, the interaction with Web 3 applications, you need extra education. Like you need to someone need to tell you how to use it because there are some terms you would see that you would not know what they mean. There are some actions you would take that because we are on a smart contract which was automatically scripted, right, by token holders, so and nobody can just change it. Meaning, whatever you do that is irreversible, you have lost your money. But because it's new to you, right, and you do not know about it, you are not educated on what it is, you have lost that particular asset because you were not educated. So the user experience of Web3 right now is in shambles. Another one is cost. Now, remember I told you something about um, servers. Now, in this case, I can have one server, yeah, and then the cost I will pay for it is probably increasing the size and maintenance. By size, I mean data storage capacity, right? But now, for a Web3 system where I'm claiming to have 10,000 servers so that you can access it anywhere, anytime, even if one is down, and for somebody to break fall all 1,000, it's difficult to actually kill everything at the same time, right? Now, this thing is costly. Imagine this is probably 1 million, imagine 10,000, that's about 10 million. Now, imagine what now upgrade it. So currently, a limitation is the fact that it's costly. You get now scalability because in terms of transaction, knowing that we have to cross check. Now all this can be worked upon because the technology is still new. So as advances, as the technology advances, all this cost and scalability might be solved, right? But for now, transactions are slow on Web3 because they are decentralized, right? So there are different places. So if I change the state in A, the state has to change in B, C, D. Unlike if you're in Web 2, if the change just the state just changes in your Access Bank and your GT Bank, right? And so right now, it's really not scalable. So now that I've highlighted the problems of Web3, limitations of Web3, this is where we now come into, we now have a role to play. We are problem solvers. We see limitations which can be tagged as problems. So how do we solve this limitation? Know that what would the in this case, what we cannot really solve the cost as product designers. We cannot really solve costs yet. Maybe later on we can decide to solve cost, but right now we cannot really handle cost. We can handle scalability, right? In terms of cutting down some steps and helping users mentally wait. You can be on a screen and something's happening behind, but you do not know because you are seeing something playing on your screen. Right? You are seeing probably an animation playing on your screen. Now mentally you are waiting, but something's happening behind. So you will not actually feel this slowness, right? You can, if you know we can solve UX, so that's where we'll focus on how to solve UX of Web3. So design plays an incredibly important role in the uptake and adoption of Web3 because as most users are on board into the world of blockchain through dApps are decentralized applications. So how they onboard is pivotal in how they would eventually see Web3 as a technology. So if you enter somewhere and the vibe you get at the first time was not right, chances of you going back there is very slim. So we have to onboard them properly. So how do we do that? So firstly, we can help in solving um, in improving the UX right of Web3 products is by enabling blockchain literacy. So as blockchain becomes popular, of course, people will get educated with it. Same thing as it was when you were in school. First off, when you heard about one tedious thermodynamics, it was a big thing for you. But as you were, as you went along, as you started getting to know more about it, eventually it was not really as big as it was. But yes, it was big, but it was not as big as it was. Same thing about blockchain. So since it's a new technology, people you have to onboard them carefully because it's a learning curve. So the terminologies you use has to be one that they resonate with. So how do you onboard? How do you enable blockchain literacy? One step to do that is by connecting users back to what they know, right? That's why right now, as we are talking, I'm using relatable terms or relatable scenarios so that you can piece what that is with what it is right now. So that's a way you can enable blockchain literacy. If peradventure we say want to highlight the way something happens in the Web3 sector, so the way I said um, pair to pair, you and me, trade by barter, the way it always is. If you come into the Web3 sector and you want to explain that without relating a scenario of what users used to know, it might become a problem in conveying that information to a user. So this is where US copywriting actually come into play and a little bit of motion to highlight what you already know and what is happening now and tell you where there are changes. The second way to enable blockchain literacy is reducing the amount of technical jargons you use. So breaking terms down, because as all new technologies, they come with their own terms. If you go into the law sector, there are some terminology that you would not understand because that's not your field, right? But then if somebody can break it down to you or break it down for you, then you can now relate with, okay, this is what it means. Then it makes more sense But later on, because you are now in the law sector, you then find yourself using the term which you thought was difficult, you start using it normal because now you know what it is, you know what it was before, or what you can relate it to. So you are now educated. So we've solved the problem of blockchain literacy. There are some cases where we cannot really explain what it is, so we don't want to mince words because we need you to know that this is what it is. Then using an information icon, maybe using that small eye that is in your icon set, you have something like that. Now you see this info. Using this info so that when the user clicks on it, I might just put a term here, that's a Web3 term here, right? Probably yield farming. Now there's no way I want to explain yield farming to you because it is not your normal cattle rearing farming. There's no way I want to explain it to you right now. But then if I put an I, when I mean you, I mean as a user. If I put an I and then the user clicks on it, it then gives it an explanation of yield farming. I have helped in enabling blockchain literacy in that section. Now, the user, anywhere he goes to and sees yield farming, he knows that, okay, this is what it is. So he understands it better. So those are little things that we can do here and there so that we can enable blockchain literacy. So as I said, as the blockchain becomes more mainstream, when people adopt it more, education will be needed less. Meaning, you might not need to now start educating people because now it's a normal thing for you to hear. You are used to it, so that is fine. Another way that you can enable blockchain literacy is by progressively increasing their exposure to blockchain. So don't just bamboozle them with all the terminologies you want to tell them. Don't just let them know this is what this is, this is what this is. But as a designer, as a UX designer, as a product designer, or UI UX designer, you then progressively explain to them what a particular terminology is, a particular functionality is. So you can do it by breaking a flow into two levels. So the first level, you might want to just give them an insight of what it is, then show them how it's applied. And when they go to the next level, then they can decide they already know back behind their head that this is what I'm talking about. You see what these guys used, um, Binance. Now you know that you have Binance Lite and you have Binance itself. Binance Lite are for basic users, people that you don't need to know everything about what you're doing. What they want to come and do there is trade crypto. Not really trade per se, just buy coins. That's what they want to just come and do there. Buy and send coins to wherever they want to send. So you don't need all those margins, market cap, all those technologies, and you don't need those ones. But as they go, due to curiosity, then they can now say, what is this normal buy? This is light. What is this other one? They now go there, then they now progressively increasing their exposure. Meanwhile, you are still giving them the value which they came there for. So it's in as much as it's expensive because then you have to design for two cases, one for basic users and one for advanced users. But you are enabling blockchain literacy. You are solving the problem of people being uneducated in the blockchain scale. So another way that a design can help in improving the experience of Web3 technology is by establishing trust through transparency. Now, one of the major characteristics of the blockchain is the fact that it's decentralized, right? So people want to know what exactly is happening to their assets, to their money, to the transaction they are performing. They want to know exactly what's happening. So you can enable trust through transparency by making it clear that this is what is happening. This is where you are at the moment. right? This is you sent the money, server one receiving the money, server two has received, server one is, I mean, server three is pushing and publishing, receiver has received, money is on the way, money accepted. So that's just you letting the user know at every given point in time where they are at the moment. You've established trust because you were transparent. There's nothing to hide, right? As you said it was coming, so it was coming. When you said it came, it actually came. So there's trust there. Moreover, it's a new technology, right? So people first off, they will be scared of testing it. Because of what has happened a long time ago in terms of Ponzi schemes, scam platforms. So this might actually be people might be nonchalant about even trying to give it a shot. So imagine when you are now hiding all these things. You claim to be decentralized, but you are hiding what's happening behind the scene. So how do you establish trust through transparency? So be clear about security. So if you are letting them know that your data is not sold to anybody, your data is owned by you, then you have to be clear about it. So this is where UX writing plays a major role. The terminology you use will let people know if you are just saying it for saying sake or you are actually saying it, right? I highlighted transparency on transactions. So this is where we let them know at every stage what's happening. So they want to know what's happening at every point in time because it gives them a feeling of control, right? So instead of telling them that your money is this, you can show them that this is where your money is going at the moment by using little interaction to just show money moving from your wallet in terms of coin going into the other user and stuff like that. The third one is no return policy. So no return policy is a term that I personally give it. So it's not really like we in the writing exam, we're gonna write no return policy there. But what I'm trying to portray in this section is the fact that, as you know, smart contracts are codes. So they're codes. You don't alter them, and basically you don't have the right to alter them on your own, right? So the codes have been set in place and sometimes even forgotten because conditions have been set that until these conditions are met, do not trigger this action. Until a particular condition is met, don't trigger an action. That has already been set a long time ago, right? As a new user that's coming, now I don't know about smart contracts. Normally in Web 2, I can recover my account. I can tell you that I lost my account. I do my two-factor authentication and then give my account back. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm used to Web 2. I'm used to losing and forgetting my account, my details. I'm used to changing my password 10 times in 2 months. But now I'm not coming into a Web 3 platform where we don't do that here. Right? If you lose your key, sorry for you. Because we are trying to protect trust. We are trying to protect security. So if you lose your keys, these are the keys that were given on to you, and then they are yours. It's not stored anywhere again. That is decentralization. It's not stored anywhere again. It is you. This is hold on to it. The moment you let it go, the moment it enters a bad boy's hand, everything that happens is on you, right? Now, in this case, you have to emphasize to the users, let them know that this is how it is. If you dispose this, if you lose this your keys, your account is lost forever. That's why if you're opening a Luno account, they put it there in a sharp red, so it will draw your attention right to that spot, letting you know that if you lose your keys, unfortunately we cannot recover your account. Kindly store your keys in a secure location. They told you clearly that if you lose it, they cannot. So you have to store it. Before I left the next screen, they then asked me again, have you stored your keys? Yes, no, basically, before you now move. So that is them emphasizing to you that you have to do this. Else, if you don't, we are not to blame. Another way to do it is to prevent possible errors. right? By educating on consequences. For example, if I want to on Binance, if somebody that like I sold some coins recently, and the person says payment received, I mean payment made. So I ought to click a button that says I have received the payment. Now they will tell you there, they will educate you on consequences that if you click on this, the money will go to the person and there's nothing you can do in a case where it was not happening. Kindly visit your bank to make sure that that is you educating the user that this is the consequence of performing this action. If you proceed, you made that decision on your own, right? So that's preventing possible errors is in a sense where if I click on a button, instead of it just telling me processing, right? It brings up a screen to let me know that are you sure you want to perform this? So I might have clicked that button in error, right? I might have mistakenly just clicked the button. Probably the phone was my ears and then my ear touched it. But the second screen that will come up, my ear cannot touch it and go and touch the second screen again. No, 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 we'll cut away the ear. But the second screen that come up now, that's the way you're preventing errors. So it has to be intentional, right? So if I say payment received, it tells me, are you sure you have received the payment? Check this box. When you check the box and you say payment received, then you are in. So from an angle, you might think it hampers the experience of the product because you are now taking about 3 steps to perform one action. But looking at the core value of the technology, which we are trying to, which is trust, security, and ownership, right? If they do not align to the core value, then you have to modify UX to fit. Because if peradventure we make a very, very smooth experience that if once you click on it, it just goes. Now we have removed the part where we said it's secure because that's not actually secure. Because if it was secure, then you would have given me the right to say, yes, I'm doing this. So I'm not in control really, right? Why did I repeat this irreversible transaction twice? Let's see. Okay, so irreversible transaction is the part once transactions are confirmed on the blockchain, they are designed to be irreversible. As I had earlier cited, the way the smart contract works is in a way that when conditions are met, an action is triggered. Right now, when it triggers this action, there is no script that says that if the action is undone, come back and then no, no, it's not that. It is like if A equals 1, give me A1. So there's nothing that now say if A1 is not equal to A1 in English, move it back to B2. There's nothing like that. That's what we mean by irreversible transactions. So you have to let them know that this transaction is irreversible. Are you sure you want to perform this transaction? So aspect to explore in the Web3 space. Remember the content we have, evolution of the web, we've highlighted that from the Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3. What is Web 3? We've highlighted what Web 3 is, a decentralized technology giving ownership back to the user, right? Decentralizing data, giving ownership back to the user. Why the fuss about Web3? Because we have now different ways of, I mean, nobody is controlling us. We own what we own, and then we can decide on if we want to upvote or not. We vote on decisions basically. So the existing limitations what we highlighted in terms of cost scalability and cost scalability, the experience and education, right? The role of design, we've highlighted what we can do as designers to help in the Web3 industry. Now we've also seen how to do this, right? If you are we're talking about enabling blockchain literacy, you want to let users know that the information, and you want to educate them on what exactly they are doing. While educating them, you don't want to bamboozle them with too much information. You want to progressively increase their knowledge base while exposing them to blockchain. Also, you want to use terminologies in simple terms, not technical jargon, so that they can understand it by relating what was in Web 2 to what is in Web 3, then make more sense about it. Now, when it becomes more mainstream, then dedication would now have to reduce because now people know about it. You're not talking about dedicating them again. It's more like retaining them, right? We're talking about establishing trust through transparency by being clear about security, transparency in transaction, letting them know where exactly they are at every single state. Also, that's why if you see on some on ramp section, right, you see a flow where they will let you know this is the money you are sending, this is the equivalent in dollars, right? This is how much you would receive. This is the transaction fee. This is the gas fee. This is the total money that you eventually receive after deduction of everything. Do you want to go? Yes or no? So you are transparent, right? You don't just get debited 5% or 20 naira because of stamp duty. It's transparent that this is what it is. And eventually you click on go, you decided that you want to go, you want to continue, let's do it. No return policy. This should letting the user know that because we are on smart contracts, right? And we don't want to now start boring you with what smart contract is, and we don't want to do all those. We just let you know that if in terms of account recovery, kindly keep these keys where they're supposed to be. But there's no spare key. If you lose the key, you have to buy a new house, right? That's just it. Preventing possible errors also by letting users know that if you perform this action, there's a second screen to actually confirm that you are performing this action and you're okay with it. Use reversible transaction because we are also on smart contract and it's codes and conditions that govern this technology. We cannot reverse your transaction. Although I see that there are some companies that are trying to see how they can help in reversing this transaction, right? Because peradventure you perform the transaction and at the second end, the transaction was not wanted anymore. So there's need for reversal. So I see there's some companies trying to explore this reversible transaction section and see how it can help in the overall feel and trust of Web3. It's a new technology, so things are bound to change. Moreover, you are also given the permission to set standards. I mean, like the people trying to reverse this transaction now, they might do it, and if their backings are sure, if their use cases are very important with technology. So you can actually create a particular trend by yourself just by understanding what it is. Look for a way to increase the experience. Look for a way to onboard people more. Look for a way to provide value. Look for problems in Web 2, then create solutions for it in Web 3, and that's pretty much it. So talking about aspects of explorations in the Web 3 sector, not just as designers, aspect of exploration as a whole, right? That was our decentralized community. We talked about it earlier. It's a community of people who own a particular digital asset or token, who then decide how things are run for them, right? They have a say in how things are done for them. They decide what they want to do, and everybody has a say basically. So these are decentralized communities. Now, as designers, how do you then work for designer's communities, right? Now, as a designer, you can be an advocate of a particular DAO. You can handle the design of their websites. You can do mesh designs for them. You can set their brand. But I'm streamlining it down to design. There are also people like community managers, developers in DAO, and all of that. But as designers, these are things that you might want to do, right? The second aspect of exploration is GameFi. So GameFi is basically gaming finance, right? So it's where you play to earn. So unlike in Web2 where we just play and chills, right? We just play to chill. But in this case, you can actually play to earn tokens, right? Which can give you access to certain things. So there was a time that when Davido bought, I think Davido bought one NFT or something like that. So yeah, one NFT. People were actually castigating him that he's spending too much money on something that might not, that is still at infancy. But if everything works well and Web3 actually is here to stay, right? Because as I highlighted earlier, that Web3 is a tout to is being touted as solution to all Web2 problems. So right now it's a new technology, so it's being touted as the solution, right? As we go on, it might in fact be the solution, right? So as it's new, so it's still unstable. So when they did all those, but when if peradventure now, it actually is a solution to Web2 problems, and these NFTs are stuff that are digital items that give you access because you are now verified. By owning it, you are verified that okay, as an owner, you have access to XYZ. Now, if I'm hosting a party and I say everybody that doesn't have this token doesn't have access to this, people that were actually saying he did a very poor business there, he'll be at the losing side because now he's not. So what I'm trying to say is that GameFi generally is helping in first of engaging people by doing what they love, right? So and as you know, there were different types of money before we ended with Naira. There were different types of money. So how does it benefit these people that are giving out these cryptocurrencies? So if your currency has enough weight, has enough ground, it might as well stand as something, right? A unique method of exchange. So can designers now explore this GameFi? How can they explore GameFi as an aspect of exploration in the Web3 industry? Now, you can design GameFi games, right? You can design games that reward users with cryptocurrencies for playing. So if they're completing tasks, you can reward them. So as designers, especially, our most of our job will mostly to help in reducing, right, in increasing the experience rather of how whatever it is that the platform want to do, how they do it. So if you go out there are people that they want to do something of the sort. They want to explore the GameFi section, the GameFi sector. So how do you come in as a designer? So you can then provide solution, or maybe on yeah,
Itinye ya n'ime kula.
one second. Yeah, so you can as well help these individuals, these startups who intend on exploring the GameFi technology by building a platform for them, including the user experience of the platform. So as user plays the game, at what level would they be rewarded with this? What are the incentives to reward at any given point in time? But also, you like to explore this technology, you like to know more about it, so you can design and improve the experience accordingly. So another one is the DEX, which is a decentralized exchange. So it's peer-to-peer marketplace when transaction occurs between crypto traders, right? So instead of we seeking approval from the bank if we can transact with a particular account, peer-to-peer, it helps in fostering one of the crypto fundamentals, as you said, decentralization, no the authorities are given to one person, right? And there's transparency. So in this case, you are not officiated by any bank or any financial infrastructure. It is between you and another person. Now creating that platform where this transaction can take place is what we call a decentralized exchange. Right? So it's more like a room of different traders who could trade to each other one on one without the need of any other person giving approval. So as designers, how do you come into this? So you can decide to design an exchange platform also that does this. You can decide to team up with companies who are doing this so you can learn more about this particular aspect. Also, you might like to explore this aspect by auditing platforms you see out there to look for ways to increase the experience, look for ways to make things more transparent, look for ways to reduce the terms used to make them more understandable, make the experience more pleasant, and and overall be a partaker of the decentralized exchange. So another way decentralized finance, right? Currently, what we have in the Web 2 is decentralized finance. So in the sense that everything happens from the central bank. So if they say no, it is no. The percentage of interest you earn, right? It is they decide that. So in for decentralized finance, all you intend on doing is now making users have ownership of how they want to run their their business. So if instead of interest, right, the user set the interest basically. And the end, there's no paperwork needed for any third party. So I just borrow you this at 5%. This is how you pay me. There's no paperwork that I need to say bring in 10 beneficiaries and all of that, give me collateral and stuff like that. But of course, it's a new technology, right? So to make it better, we then look for loopholes. In terms of collateral, we can see that some people have scored with people's if they borrow from someone, they run away with the money. So then the need for collaterals. Then you then use some of their token, right? Before you get XYZ amount of money from this person, you have to deposit this token as collateral. But you don't tell me collateral in the sense that you don't want to give off the vibe of Web 2 also. You want to let them know that they have the option to actually still earn on this collateral you dropped. Another way is also the metaverse. So metaverse, as we know now, is instead of what we are doing now, where we are talking, right? And then I can see you. So my non-verbal cues, you can't get that information. But the metaverse, it's a virtual space where all of us we can be there, and as I'm sitting down and some of you are lying down, or putting one leg on the table, you can see everybody, and then the way you can interact like we will do normally. So that's the metaverse. Metaverse is the concept of a existent online 3D universe that combine multiple different virtual spaces. So we can decide to be in Kenya right now, but it's virtual. So I just go on probably with the glass we use, and islands that we use, that's fine. We all decide to be in Kenya right now and experience different level of experience generally. So you can also, how can designer exploit the metaverse? For every new technologies, you have to increase the experience of people that are there. If if for example, in the metaverse now, and then we see that when we are there, there's no place of people there's no music, right? You can create a solution where inside the metaverse you can then decide to play music that everybody can vibe to. That is how you can explore it. The next one is extended reality, an aspect for exploration. Extended reality. So extended reality is basically immersive technologies that extend the realities of what we're experiencing right now in the real world, right? So we have augmented reality, which it modifies what we have. We have virtual reality, which it doesn't modify what we have. We decide what we want to see. I can decide to be in space right now, and then it gives me space by that virtual reality. Augmented is like I want to open the door, and then it gives me the feel that I am actually holding the door and opening the door, but in a different environment. And mixed reality is a mixture of, of both of them. So all these are under Web3 as a whole. So these are different aspects that you might want to check more on and see if it's something that resonates with you and explore. Another one is social file. So basically, anything in Web2 that is decentralized is an aspect of exploration in Web3. As you can see, in Web2, finance is centralized, right? In Web3, finance is decentralized, so they call it DeFi. Social Fi is now a decentralized financial platforms. So we highlighted somewhere that if you post something and somebody doesn't like it, the person can take it down. That is centralization in the Web2 space. So if you create a solution for the Web3 space where you have whole autonomy of whatever it is you're posting and nobody can take it down because you control it, right? That is social fact. So recently, sometime earlier this year, it was a big thing on in the internet. People were looking for the designers with knowledge of social file, basically. So it's like it's you getting users rewarded for performing actions. So if I like a post, to to 0.2 for liking a post, 0.3 for liking. So it's more engaging, but then whatever it is that is there, it also has the Web3 digitalization, all of its core functionalities embedded. So the last one that I highlighted here is NFTs. So NFTs, as you know, it's more for digital creators, but like giving them ownership of their digital creation. So it's a unique identifier that belongs to only you, right? That's why we see on some platform you will see one of two, meaning there are two unique and one is taken. So this is the last unique piece. That's why if you're designing NFTs, they will tell you I want 5,000 or I want 1,000 of this particular design. Same concept, but each is a unique piece because maybe one line or maybe this ape head now might be different, might be the same style, but this one is carrying a blonde, this one is different, but they are all the same styles. So that's the uniqueness of them. And then whoever purchases it, it's now your own. So the original owner loses the right to call it theirs again. There's still a lot of work to be done in the NFT sector. So you might want to explore it, look for ways to increase the experience, look for ways to help in probably the buyer side or the seller or creator side, look for ways to optimize the experience, and that's pretty much it. So for tomorrow, I mean for next week, this Wednesday, for next week class, we left a lot of resources um, on the Notion board about design for Web3, some terminologies that you need to know on Web3, and how to go about designing for Web3 generally. So on Tuesday next week, I think next week should be our last class before the bounties and then the project. So Tuesday next week, I'll be expecting that it will be an interactive section actually. Let me just quickly open up the Notion. What's this? So I'll drop this course. I'll drop this Web3 course. Okay, no, you have access to it. So by Tuesday next week, you should have finished this Web3 crash course. This Web3 crash course is a Web3 design crash course actually. Web3 design crash course. So by Tuesday next week, you should have finished this crash course. So that is actually the assignment for this week, to finish this crash course. And on Tuesday, questions from this crash course will be cited, and I expect everyone to have a basic understanding of it. Nonetheless, we'll still highlight next week, we'll still highlight all these exclusions of Web3, because for every technology, there are similarities and there are differences. So, what are the differences between Web 2 and Web 3? Apart from, of course, the fundamentals, which is digitalization, ownership, um, privacy, security, all those are the fundamentals, foundation of Web 3. Apart from that, what is different? Like staking, what is staking? What is bridge? What is yield farming? All those technologies that we need to know in the Web3 industry to design accordingly. We'll be handling all those next week. So that's pretty much it for our class. I think in terms of content, we've covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover for today. Evolution, what it is, why we talk about it, limitation, role of design, right? Role of design and aspects of exploring. So if there's any question now, I'll take the questions. I'll take the questions now. Does anybody have any questions for everything we talked about today? So everybody understands everything we've cited from beginning to ending, even the role of design in the in Web3 in terms of helping to increase literacy, giving them the amount of time to improve, to promote trust through transparency, letting them know that there's some action that cannot be reversed. Okay, so if that's the case, I'll export this slide and I'll drop it on the Slack channel. But also remember what I said, the Web3 design crash course, that is the first link you'll see on the Notion board. So I expect that you use this weekend from Thursday to Friday. I think it's about 11 videos, 7 minutes thereabout. It's not too much. So you should digest that course, and then on Tuesday we will discuss about the course, also further on Web3 and generally. So on, I think on Thursday might be our last workshop in terms of designing for Web3. So we'll do something on Web3 on Thursday, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday then. If that's all, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. So I'll stop recording now. And if there's no question, thank you very much today. Enjoy your night.